Before we jump into our panel, I'm going to begin by introducing all of these folks who've joined us up front. I know they are very familiar faces to most of you. From Mason County, Commissioner Randy Neatherlin. Randy attended North Mason High School and earned a bachelor's in business management and a master's in management leadership. In his early career, Neatherlin owned and operated a shake and shingle mill, as well as a small cable advertising and marketing company. He's a realtor broker at John L. Scott in Belfair, where he's lived most of his life. Neatherlin has held office as a Mason County Commissioner since 2013 and has been elected to serve another term. As Commissioner, he serves on a variety of boards, including the EDC of Mason County, Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and Shelton Memorial Park. Welcome, Commissioner Neatherlin. From City of Shelton, Mark Ziegler, our City Manager. With over 31 years of experience in multiple roles in the City of Shelton, Mark was appointed as City Manager in 2023. He grew up in Shelton, attending local schools before graduating from Central Washington University in 1992. After working at the Shelton School District for 1 year, he started as a halftime recreation coordinator at the city in 1993 and progressed through roles at Parks, Recreation, and Community Development. Mark enjoys volunteering in the community, including 26 years at Christmastown, Kiwanis, spending time on the water and occasional Mexico vacations, which were very well earned this year, with his wife, Dawn. Welcome, City Manager Ziegler. From the Port of Shelton, Wendy Smith, Executive Director. Wendy has been at the Port since 2010 and is a graduate of Washington State University with a degree in Business Administration, and she has enjoyed a career path that varied between private and public sectors. Wendy currently serves on the Community Economic Revitalization Board, the CURB Board, and as the Port official. Wendy's goals for the Port are to continue positive direction in job growth, business retention, exceptional customer service, and continued growth of assets. Welcome, Wendy. And from Mason PUD 3, our host venue today, thank you PUD, is Sheila Corson, our Public Information Officer. Sheila has been the PIO for PUD for a year and a half. With an additional almost 5 years in public power prior to that. She earned a master's in communications from Purdue, and her career includes 5 years as a journalist, where she covered public power and working in public relations for her hometown school district. For the past 2 years, she has taught communication studies classes online for Wenatchee Valley College. She also plays electric bass guitar, and fun fact, prefers to eat her french fries from smallest to largest. So for those of you who have attended this event in the past, you know that typically we have turned over the mic and said, tell us about what you're doing. And because a lot of the things that these community partners are working on are long-term goals, there's a lot of carryover from year to year. So we wanted to restructure things a little bit and try to dive into maybe some new items or get a little bit deeper into some pieces. So we're going to mix it up a little bit today. Bear with us as we work through the tech of this, but we're going to start with our panel asking each community partner, what was your organization's biggest accomplishment or what was the win from the past year? And how do you think that's positively impacted specifically the business community, but the community overall? For this one, I will start with Commissioner Neatherlin. Who, to be fair, is pinch hitting for us today, and bless you for coming through, much appreciated.
So do I have to move this over, or can you hear me okay? So yeah, I apologize. I didn't even know there were questions until I was getting ready to come over. I was having coffee down at Nita's, and George asked me, he goes, so what are your answers to the questions? And I go, what questions? And he showed me. I went down and got the questions. I read them on the way here, so my apologies if I'm not as prepared as everybody else. And I definitely have no presentation because I didn't know that was part of anything either. So with that being said, for this last year, we've had quite a few great things that have happened, but one of the biggest things we have to take the greatest pride in is we had another year where we did not raise taxes. Now, when you're talking about economic development, that's always going to be an important factor. Not raising taxes has a positive impact on anything that you do for cost, bringing in a business that makes utilities stuff important as well, and the cost of that. This year we restructured a lot of our utilities, our utility costs, and as a matter of fact, in one of our areas in North Bay, we did something that's unheard of. We actually lowered the rates. By being able to do that, of course, again, that helps in economic development. We've done some other great things. Our permitting time is going down drastically, and we expect a lot more in this next coming year. But on top of that, we also entered into some contracts. As we know, law enforcement and being able to supply law enforcement to the community has been a hard thing. Well, it's not just us, it's across the whole state. Even having officers show up and being able to fill positions, no matter what you do, has been really hard. Corrections, there's places like Thurston County who could be down almost half at one point. Well, we've done something this year that we think has already become very successful. We went out and we decided that we would change our contract structure to pay them the highest of our comparables so we could steal from everybody else. And with that, we go back down a little bit as we have a smaller increase each year, so we'll be back down to the 50th percentile. But in the beginning, we were able to do that. We went ahead and we did that with our law enforcement, and we've been filling every position. And every once in a while, there'll be a little movement, but it gets filled. Where, as you all know, we used to be short quite a bit. With the budget coming up, we're looking at 54 commissioned officers on the road, every day for you. So that's big for this county. Another thing that we've done is just did the same thing for corrections officers. We passed that yesterday. So Grace Harbor, I was talking to somebody, sorry, we're coming after your people. We're gonna take them too, and we're gonna go ahead and fill ours up because we've had, like everybody else, we've had to contract out. We've brought them back home. When we can take care of our home, take care of our community, that's good for business. It's just no way you can argue against that. And it's a long process, but hopefully it gets better. And with that, we're also been successful in bringing back the Belfair bypass, so to speak, the freight corridor. We almost lost it this last year. It got changed. They thought it was a Eagle project for a past senator and stuff, and we sat down with them, was able to show that it is a safety project, and got back on the boards, and they're very supportive, and we're hoping to keep it there. So with that, there's been a lot of great things that have happened within the community, and there's a lot more to come.
Thank you so much. Wendy, would you like to tell us a little bit about the courts last year, and what was the big win for you guys last year?
So I think to sum it up, I would say partnerships, and that extends far. I think some of the biggest you've read in the newspaper, most likely. We signed a partnership agreement through the CURB board, actually, that I sit on, so I couldn't vote for it, but with Olympic Mountain Ice Cream, and so they're moving their whole facility to the Port of Shelton, so we're just super excited to see that happen. It's currently in architecture phases. And then just as recent as Tuesday, we signed a lease with MaceCom to move their operations from the city up to the port just for expansion needs and really to benefit the entire community. I think that was a big win for all of us. So beyond that, we have partnered with EDC, the Economic Development Council, to go after a lot of grant funding this year, and that included partnerships with the city, poor city. We've gone after several grants that said, this is sewer, can you help us? And how about same with PUD3? We've gone after money with partnerships with PUD3, and we're still waiting on some of those results. But we also continue to partner with the FAA, so you'll see 2 giant projects happening, and when I say giant, they're giant to us. So we have nearly $4.5 million that'll be spent on the airport this coming year, and that's for taxiway overlay and the airport master planning process, which happens once every, usually about 10 years. We're about 13 years behind, so, or maybe not, maybe we're closer than that. But so anyway, we're just thrilled to see all these partnerships, and I think as you can see on the board, these are a lot of current tenants, and not all of them, but we have partnerships in the community with all of you and with all of our businesses, and we're just grateful for all of that. So.
Thank you so much, Wendy.
You bet.
Mark, would you tell us a little bit about the city last year? What was your big win?
Absolutely. I don't know if I can narrow it down to one win because, we have, great. Absolutely right. Well, first and foremost, we onboarded 4 new council members this year, which is quite an endeavor. 3 that were elected at the beginning of the year with the resignation of another council member, but a new one coming in May. And that takes some time, and it takes a lot of time to get them up to speed and get their perspectives, their initiatives, their plans, and their goals in place. And I think we've done a good job integrating these new council members into the 3 that were sitting there already and getting us up to speed. Specific to business and business community, law enforcement, to echo Randy's comments, we've really focused on community safety. We have now soon to be a fully staffed police department. We have a recruit coming out of Basic Law Enforcement Academy up in Burien later in December. So they'll be on board. We'll have one more opening right after the first year, and we're hoping to get a lateral recruitment there, have fully staffed department to better meet the community's needs for public safety. When we moved animal control and code enforcement, because we believe that's a really important piece of public safety and the livability of our community. We moved them into community development. We now have a licensed animal control officer fully in line and in place to provide animal control within the city. And our code enforcement officer is doing a great job to address nuisance violations and other violations throughout the community. We have taken on the application of a creative district through the state of Washington. You may see some changes on Coda Avenue that relate to the creative district, and I know there's different opinions on that. Ultimately, the goal was to slow down traffic, make it more pedestrian friendly, and invite people to that area of town, which wasn't happening before. It was essentially a thoroughfare to avoid Railroad Avenue. There's still some tweaks and changes that can be made there, but we believe we've made some positive improvements. We're continuing to work with the volunteers of the creative district and the business community down on Coda Street to make sure that we meet their needs at the same time as creating the space that's going to encourage businesses to move into that area and thrive. A couple safe routes to schools projects that were completed at Spring Road and 7th and Franklin. We think this really benefits pedestrian traffic, particularly moving from some neighborhoods and back and forth to schools. They just don't affect the schools, but also between public facilities like the Huff and Buff Trail and the high school, and then between Safeway, Transit, and the west side of 7th Street as well. The camp, which is a conditionally approved area management plan. And this is essentially shellfish area that was opened up for shellfish harvesting due to our investments in our wastewater treatment plant. So we doubled our disinfection program with ultraviolet light treatment. I know it's really interesting if anybody wants to visit the treatment plant. There's a lot more that goes on there than meets the eye, but these investments have opened up 43 acres of shellfish lands on Oakland Bay. So that's an economic development driver here. One other thing, it's a little minor, you might not think of it, but long line striping on railroad. We long line striped, took those turtles out of railroad. We can now snow plow that thing without busting out those turtles every year when it snows, and then replace them and incurring the cost to replace those. So now we've striped it. We can plow on railroad to the center line, open up 2 lanes, and continue to encourage commerce when we have inclement weather down on Railroad Avenue. Last thing I'll mention is Northcliffe Neighborhood Park, addition of a new park on Northcliffe near Terrace Heights, a new play structure up there. We believe this encourages a livable community, which hopefully makes people want to live here, invest here, and visit our business community. So we hope that really those investments kind of outside of the direct business core certainly help encourage our business community to thrive.
Thank you so much. And Sheila, do you want to share a little bit about the community's big wins from last year?
Absolutely. I'm curious what slide's going to come up first. Oh, that one. Okay, we could talk about that one.
I can go back. Anyone you like.
All right. Do you have the one that just has like the old-timey photos on it? I want to start with that one.
It's up at the top.
85th.
I think that's a picture of me.
It might be. We'll see. Hey, yeah, that one. All right. Hey, all right. So I wanted to, first of all, welcome everybody and note that there's a bunch of stuff in the middle of the tables. If you want any of that, take it. If you don't, leave it. It's just a bunch of little items. The round thing, they're not Magic 8 balls. Sorry, those are lip gloss. And then I thought, ice scrapers, because National Weather Service is predicting a wetter and colder winter. So I've got more of those if you need them. But welcome everybody, thanks for being here. It is our 85th anniversary, so yes, thank you. And we actually tracked that number, not from the day the voters approved us, but from the day we started serving our first customers. It was 8 customers actually, way back in 1939, served off of Cushman. actually. So anyway, we have 36,000 now, so we've grown. When we talk about some of the wins we've had this last year, we can talk a lot about partnerships. Wendy and I were just talking about, pursuing all these grants, and one of the big ones that we're pursuing right now is with the port. So fingers crossed, we're feeling good about it. We'll see how it goes. But there's some huge projects out there when we're talking about growth, especially in the Shelton and the Belfair urban growth areas. There's a lot of possible development going on, and a lot of that means big dollars. And we talk about new substations and what we call switching stations. So we're always pursuing grant funding towards that, always trying to figure out what we can do. But even when we can't just go build a new substation today, we're doing everything we can leading up to that point to increase capacity. So you can go to the slide. Yeah, we can talk about that one. So we actually there's all of a quick little map of our territory and our substations. So the one, I'm trying to figure out where it's, Belfair substation up there, upper right, second one. That one we're going to be working on pretty soon. Well, actually it's underway, and we're hoping to have quite a bit more expansion happening there. But that's just a quick map of our territory. Can you go to the one that has the pictures from, I'm not sure what it's actually titled, but some of the, well, not that one. That one's later. Not that one. It actually, well, that was something else we can mention.
The other direction.
That's a cool thing. Yeah. The other one. There's all kinds of good stuff in here. I don't know where to go. That one.
There we go.
There we go. This is a big one. So when we talk about Shelton urban growth area and development over there, for quite a while we've been talking about getting more power and broadband over there. So hey, just a few weeks ago you might have noticed some work going on there at the intersection with Walmart. We finally, thanks to devoted efforts of our staff getting a WSDOT permit, we got underneath the highway and finally moved conduit over where we can supply electrical and broadband to the other side of the highway. A lot more capacity can be opened up there. So I just wanted to show you, hey look, there's a new box over there on the other side. This you might have seen and driven by. But that's just one of the things. One of the other things that maybe you probably noticed if you ever drove on Shelton Springs in the last year or so, we've been doing a big project of upgrading the power lines there on Shelton Springs Road and completed that not too long ago. And that just right there, that's one thing that's not a huge project, just swapping out what we call conductor, the power lines, basically making more available power to people, and particularly to the port. So smaller projects like that are huge steps in the right direction, and we're continuing to do that. We're always trying to be proactive instead of reactive as much as we can. So those are just a couple of big wins for us.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Sheila. We're going to now look ahead to 2025, and this time I'm going to start with Wendy at the port. What do you see as the biggest challenge for your organization, and what strategies are you considering to address that?
So I have something that I see as a challenge, but it's becoming less of a challenge as this year rounds out, which is great, and that's vacancies. Many of you know we have more vacancies, I think, than we've had in a long time at the port, and that was due to one of our larger tenants was occupying several different of our 5,000 square foot buildings, Fungi Perfecti. And Fungi hasn't gone away, but their warehousing needs were what they were using our warehouses for, which really isn't our mission is more the manufacturing side of things. So their needs needed to be more on I-5, and ours, we were a little off the beaten path for them. So when they took their operation completely to Tumwater, and we were kind of a secondary, that left open we still have several of our 5,000 square foot buildings. So how we've managed to kind of come up with a solution to that is we've actually partnered with Shelton School District as we speak with one of their 20-hour internship programs, and we have a student, she's actually the senior class president. She's taking photos of those vacant buildings for us, and she's loading them, editing them and loading them to a database and getting them ready so we can kind of mass go out to the commercial markets. The only other thing I see and when I said that's becoming less true. We have a lot of interest right now in land, buildings. We are busy, we are hopping. And so I don't think it's gonna be that big of a problem. And matter of fact, by the time we get those buildings loaded, we might have them full. So we'll see. But the other thing I'm facing is I have a really small staff. I'm one of 9. And we have long-term employees. Everybody loves to stay and work at the port, hopefully. But we're looking at a lot of retirements. And so as those, that historical knowledge kind of goes away, we're trying to glean on to what we can and make sure that, we capture that and bring on new staff that can deal with the new things as well as the historical knowledge. So those are our challenges for the next year.
Thank you, Wendy. Mark, do you want to share a little bit from the city challenges you're facing for 25?
Absolutely. First and foremost is our fiscal responsibility to provide needed services to our community. We have to be aware of that at every step, every move that we make every day. Right now, we're dedicating $1 million of our reserves to our general fund balance next year to maintain services, essentially. So we have to be fiscally responsible on how we move forward and how we project moving through 26, 27, and forward. So when we move into next year, we're going to really look at what is mandated for the city to provide the community, what are our core responsibilities, what is funded, what has dedicated funds available to it to provide those services, and then what are discretionary. And we're going to work with our council to establish those priorities so we have a better roadmap moving forward. We're not guessing, we're not making off-the-cuff decisions, but we really have a true roadmap that we can communicate to the public how we're going to provide these services that are so desperately needed, but you have to make some tough decisions at times. The way we moved into 2025 with 3 core responsibilities is public safety. Continue maintaining our public safety departments. That includes police, fire, municipal court, indigent defense, prosecution services, asset management. We have a lot of buildings. We have a lot of streets that are in our general fund, not counting on the utilities like sewer and water and stormwater. We need to maintain those for the public benefit. They become a liability if you don't maintain those, and they become more expensive to maintain and fix later. So we're investing in roof structures, uninterrupted power supply equipment, IT equipment, and things like that you'll see a project right now at the library, renovating the library deck downtown as well. So, and then a stable workforce. Turnover in our workforce costs us greatly. We have great employees at the City of Shelton. We want to maintain that workforce to the best of our ability. So being able to, as Commissioner Neatherlin said, compete particularly on the public safety sector with our surrounding communities. It's not a far drive to Thurston County for a signing bonus or a greater salary. So we don't do that with the salary, but we also do that with culture. We do that by making sure our employees are appreciated, making sure they have proper leadership, proper training, and they have the ability to advance. We have, I'm a perfect example, but our police chief, our police captain, we have assistant public works directors. We have people that have moved through, that longtime employees that have moved up in responsibility positions at the City of Shelton, and seeing that as a possibility, make sure that that they have that opportunity for forward movement, and they'll stick around and hopefully continue to serve this community. Community expectations, housing and homelessness, affordable housing, dealing with a homeless population with little resources is still a priority. The council's continually to discuss this and come up with opportunities to address this to the best of our ability. There's many spokes coming out from the hub on this social issue. Certainly mental health and addiction are major factors that apply. We have to consider in this realm. We've lost our designated crisis responder recently. We had a contract with Thurston Mason Behavioral Health where we had a mental health professional embedded in our police department. Unfortunately, they left. They're trying to recruit another one, so that's a lack in services that we have now that we really want to focus on. We need that individual. They reduced the amount of time that our police officers spent dealing with individuals through mental crisis dramatically. It was 30-40% of those specific calls that the time was reduced. So we need to address that. We need to backfill that position as well. Indigent defense, The State Bar Association has recommended a dramatic decrease in caseload for indigent defense in the state of Washington. The state Supreme Court's reviewing that. It could dramatically increase the cost of public defense because of the caseload reduction. We currently have one firm under a public defense contract. We may have to go up to 3 or 4 firms if these requirements or reductions are in place. So we're keeping an eye on that. It's a mandated responsibility of the city and the county to provide. And so we really need to keep an eye on that and make sure that we're nimble enough financially to adjust our resources to continue to provide that defense for individuals who go through the court system.
Thank you, Mark. Sheila, how about PUD for 2025?
Oh, so many good things ahead. I'm excited. Can we go to the one with the Christmas lights? Let's talk about the Christmas lights, because I love the Christmas. So right now, we're actually working with the city of Shelton to install some brand new street lights, LED bright lights, bright white, so should even brighten up our Christmas festivities even more so. And of course, in case you were wondering, yes, we've already strung the lights on the post office park tree and outside the courthouse, so those are ready to go for tree lighting. We did have to replace a couple strands. Thankfully, the squirrels had a good meal out of them. I don't know. Anyway, but that's happening. One of the big challenges we face, and this might be the next slide, we'll see. Well, no, that's not it. All right, whatever. But let's go with the one that is, actually, I was talking about the,
Keep going back, Katie.
it's okay, whatever, whichever one we land on. Sure, let's do that one. Because we were talking substations earlier, of course. I think a lot of agencies that you would hear about, what they're looking at in the next year is supporting new housing and other development and that sort of thing, trying to make that work within the territories where our infrastructure is actually the strongest. So we have more capacity on some of these substations than we do on others. So that's always a huge, huge challenge, is when people decide to build more stuff where we have less stuff. However, hopefully we'll see more of that moving where it needs to go. So that's just one of the challenges we deal with. Whichever slide is next, let's go with that. That's still not mine.
You can talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do this one. All right, let's do this one. So just this Tuesday, our commissioner meeting, we talked about our budget and the things coming ahead. So we have a lot of capital projects. Some of those, thankfully, are because we've gotten millions of dollars in grants. Some of that included in the substation, other upgrades, fiber expansion, like out in the Qualam communities. That's a huge one that's coming in, so we're doing a lot of work toward that. But that means we have a big increase in our capital budget this year, and also, for those of you who aren't aware, we buy all of our power first before we are able to provide it to our customers. And we buy from Bonneville Power Administration, and they announced some rate increases to us as well. About 9% on the power side and 20% on the transmission side. Thankfully, transmission is only a small piece of our total bill. So because of that, we are talking about a rate increase of about 3.3% to residential customers in the coming year, and then another 15 cents on that system daily charge. But it is residential. We're actually not considering any increases for commercial, industrial, or any of those others. So hopefully that'll be a little bit easier on the business community to take that. But that is something to be aware of. We are also, somebody mentioned pulling from reserves. We are pulling up to $4.2 million from reserves to kind of smooth things out and lessen that increase to our customers. So that is something that we're talking about right now. We're also looking at a public vehicle charger. We already have a rate for that, but not a whole lot of people are using it. And we revamped it, refreshed it, so that cute little bus that was up there isn't really what Merriam Knight's probably going to be buying. But Merriam Knight's got a grant to get some electric buses, and so we want to support that. So we kind of redid the rate schedule to support projects like that. And then if anybody else is talking about putting in some commercial chargers or public chargers outside their businesses, there's a little bit better rate schedule for all of you if you are considering that as well. What's up next? Yes, let's talk about that. So, in the meantime, we are still always offering support to our customers through the Project Share program, which is funded both by donations from our community and actually a lot of our employees contribute as well. But also we have some additional energy efficiency incentives through June of next year through another grant that we got. And those will help with low and moderate income households. So if you didn't qualify for low income, you might be surprised how many people qualify for moderate income. But some of these incentives are up to $800 for a washer dryer, up to $3,000 for a heat pump water heater, up to $6,000 for a ductless heat pump, and up to $9,000 for an air source heat pump. And just for a little bit of a reference, if a family of 4 had an income of, I think it's $137,000, that's considered moderate income. So it's a lot larger portion of our community to be able to get these great incentives, but limited time only. So if you're gonna do that, or you know people are gonna do that in their residences, please get a hold of us. We really wanna make sure that we get all of this money out to our folks. We got about $1.5 million with that grant, so that's really great. And we do, of course, have commercial incentives available. So if you're looking at a new heat pump for your business or switching out a bunch of lighting, please contact our conservation department, because we definitely want to make sure we're supporting everybody as best as we can.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I'm going to bounce back down to Commissioner Neatherlin. Can you tell us a little bit, Randy, about the looking ahead at 25, what you see as the biggest challenge for the county and what you're doing to address that?
Before I do that, I want to give a kudos to the city on something. People don't understand, they don't understand boundaries of what I do versus what the city does. So when they did their work on CODA, you have no idea how many phone calls I got by people that were so pissed off. And I would sit there and I'd talk to them and they want to know why I did it. And I explained, no, I have no authority. And then they yell at me some more. I said, tell you what, I'll make a phone call, I'll call you back and tell you why I did it. So the thing that's interesting about that though is I did not know until just now, one of the reasons for doing that was to increase the capacity of usage for the road for retail. I noticed as I was going through there that the parking stalls were all being used up, and I thought to myself, if nothing else, that's one big benefit. Mm-hmm. So if that was your goal, you were very successful.
Including ADA parking. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, we now have ADA parking dedicated on CODA.
And so I'd say that's very successful for those businesses that are there. I just didn't know that's what it was. I'll make sure to call some of these people and tell them that's why.
I appreciate it. I'll send them your way.
So some of the biggest issues that we have to deal with at the county in the next coming year. Your county's in the best fiscal position it's ever been in history. We used to be a very broke county. We got down to $175,000 cash on hand. We get paid at different times, and we had to stop cashing checks. That was years ago. We haven't raised tax in years, and these days we run a running balance where instead of $175,000, we're running at 25 to 29 million cash on hand all the time. That's how we've done business. But the problem that you have with that, not all good things come to an end. We were great at cutting. We were great at making things more restrictive on how we use those funds, but the whole world keeps moving. And as it keeps moving and spending costs, it starts to make an adjustment. Now, we are great when it comes to reserves. We used to not even be able to fill a 2% reserve. We currently hold funded a 25% reserve. Plus, we have another $1 million reserve for vehicles. Plus, we have another $5 million contingency reserve. Plus, we have a few other reserves like that, but I still have $9 million that's unrestricted money. So it's not even in the reserve, but we're hitting into that this year. So we're not dipping into our reserves, but we're dipping into that. With that means eventually there has to be a course change of some sorts. That bow wave gets bigger and bigger. So in this next year, we're going to have those discussions. Maybe it's reorganization, maybe it's some other things, or we have to find ways to bring in different revenue. Well, like I said, we haven't raised taxes in years. But that's a big thing that's facing us, and we have to be aware of that, especially when we're hearing that the state itself is coming in about $7 to $10 billion backwards. Now, I hope that's not true. I heard from a legislator that it may not be. It may be a scare tactic in order to bring another tax. I hope that's the case. But if it is, the counties are the arm of the state. People don't realize that. So when they get hurt, we get hurt. But we have enough money in the bank to weather a 5-year recession at Mason County, so we're doing great. But it is still in front of us. One of the biggest is something that Mark just touched on. When you hear the state versus, when someone gets arrested, that's a lie. It's the county versus. We have to pay for everything. We pay to catch them, we pay to keep them, we pay to feed them. We have to pay to prosecute them, and we have to pay to defend them. 87% get defended. If they change this rule, they'll go from us being able, they've already restricted how many cases a public defender can have, but they'll drop it down to a little above a third. Now with that, we can't even get them in the state. The whole state has suffered from this. The state, as you can tell, keeps doing this to us, and we find ways to get around it. But if this happens, imagine I'm going to one person may be, all they can do in the whole year, and we have to pay them for the year, is 47 credits, and one murder case would be 8 credits. So they're done, they could be done in March or April, and we still have to continue to pay that if we have them on staff. We're doing more contracting now, and we may have to do a lot more contracting. We have to pay more on those contracts in order to get them, because everybody's competing for that. Now, those decisions have not been made yet, but here's the downside. If they do make that decision, and no matter how rich you are or how good you are, you can't get the attorneys because they don't exist. They just don't exist on the public defender side. You can't prosecute. That's the law. If we can't defend them, and we can't prosecute them, we have to let them go. That's the fear. So one of the things that we can do is look at rearranging and having some discussions. There's people that don't like some of the things I talk about, but one of the things that I've looked at is taking some of these that are felony cases and creating a mechanism around them so we can drop them down to be misdemeanors. Because misdemeanors, instead of 47 credits, it'll be 130 credits they could use. And if you've checked out how things work, you can do a felony and still get 3 days in jail. So it doesn't actually work as anybody would think anyway, but that caseload would be heavily restricted. By being able to have the ability to try them under a misdemeanor allows for us to do a lot more. But that's a heavy weight that's over the top of us. And we won't know the outcome to that until the Supreme Court gives us their final ruling. And that could come at any time. And again, with that, the only answer would be to go out and think outside the box and try to find new ways of getting it done, partnering maybe with the city and the like. And I want to throw one more compliment in. Later on, I'm going to be mentioning infrastructure and the PUDs and how blessed we are to have a PUD. I was coming in to work singing Christmas songs. Yes, I'm one of those guys. And I saw your guys' staff putting up the lights and everything on the tree in Mason County. You guys are awesome. Merry Christmas to you guys.
Well, that is a lovely segue into our next happier note, which is what's new and next for you all. So I know Sheila touched a little bit on what PUD is doing next year for new and next. So I'm going to bump over to the city. Katie, if you want to dial up that very colorful map.
I've got one slide, absolutely.
It's the slide.
This will be where our community sees the most change here in the near future is residential development. We have a lot of residential development interest. We're actually seeing some of that to come to fruition after several years. So first and foremost is the Meadows Edge subdivision. It's just off Spring Road, just past Shelton High School. They're actually building up there. It's a 36 lot subdivision. These houses are pre-selling. I think it's great information that there is a market for new residential housing in this community. The next one is the Olympic Heights subdivision, 199 houses just above Olympic College, up Alpine, just past between Alpine and the college, what is known as Peacock Hill Road at this point. They are moving dirt as we speak. They've cleared vegetation and moving dirt. We anticipate the public improvements to be completed there sometime by hopefully next spring, sometime in the summer, weather dependent, and they're going vertical before long after that. We see the residential development as obviously needed housing, but also benefits to our business community, right? More residents, more tax base, spreads the burden a little bit, if you will. The same developers of Olympic Heights are, they actually annexed 400 acres last year that go all the way close bordering the Port of Shelton Center, Johns Prairie Industrial Site. So they're talking about their next phase, which is about 300 units just to the east. We've got 72 lots on Capitol Hill that may expand by 19. We're in discussions right now with the same developer of the Olympic Heights neighborhood. The good thing about this development is they're committing to extending a high pressure water line from North Cliff Road up to the top of Capitol Hill. It adds capacity, it adds redundancy, and it meets state fire code for fire flow, which we don't have for the entire area up on Capitol Hill. So as these developers come forward and move these developments into, actually putting, I guess, what you would see is houses up or blacktop on the ground. There's infrastructure improvements that are going under the ground that are going to benefit the entire community. The Coffee Creek subdivision on the south side of town, just south of the Eaglewood development, that's under review right now, 365 units through several phases, right? They're not building 365 houses within the next year, but these are several phases. They have some water issues that we need to rectify. We do have $1 million of direct appropriation funds from the state of Washington to help rectify some of the Angleside reservoir issues that we have to provide enough water for full build out of the Coffee Creek subdivision. Other projects that we've looked at over the last 6-8 months include, there's almost about 282 potential residential units, including there on Turner and 7th, up on Hazel, Wilson, and Chestnut, and then most recently one just west of Meridian Park as well. So we're seeing a lot of interest in the community. We're actually seeing some dirt being moved, and so those are going to be really exciting to keep our eye on, and we're happy that there's people making investment here in our community.
Thank you so much, Mark. Wendy, do you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up for the port and what's new or exciting you'd like to share?
Sure. Kind of just to tagline onto the housing and what everybody needs when they want to locate a business or increase their business size at the Port of Shelton or anywhere in our community, they need houses. And so that's always been a big discussion. So it's a great team effort there too. We don't build houses, but if we bring the businesses, we want to make sure they have houses to put their people in. So that's exciting. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got some big airport projects coming online. They just happen to hit all at once, which is kind of detrimental to my poor small staff. Brandon, sorry, Brandon. But anyway, these are good, needed, necessary projects. And of course, as you all know, Sanderson Field is supported by the deed restrictions that tell us that all that money spent has to be for airport operations, and so it's just kind of a quagmire. So we're able to lease property to other individuals, but when they're not airport related, we have to put all that funding towards the airport. So this is good long-term projects. The master plan will include the taxiway, the build out of the former fairgrounds property into aviation reserve. So that'll be able to be used for aviation related businesses, and it'll include taxiways for that. So that'll be future funding. So that's kind of an exciting thing. We're looking to get that 30,000 square foot building after the fire. Gosh, that was almost 4 years ago now. 2021, we had the fire at Sanderson Field, and we've been in the process of planning that building and kind of we've put the kibosh on a little bit, just holding out for FAA. They believe that building should be aviation, and it never had been aviation, so we're trying to say, but it isn't. We're not asking for it to be released. We're just asking to replace it how it was. So we see the 30,000 square foot manufacturing. We'd love to see one user. We have some potential interest. If it couldn't be one, we'd like to split it into 3 10,000s, and so that's an exciting piece. Of course, the build out of Olympic Mountain Ice Cream. I can't wait. I tell my staff, like, whenever they have a problem, they're going to call, and we're all going to go running with our spoon to help fix whatever it is they need. And we're just really thrilled to have that. That has spurred on some other interested parties that have called and want to talk about possible curb funding or even investing in the port buildings or land. And then we've just had a lot of, like I mentioned, a lot of new inquiries for potential businesses here out at Johns Prairie and at Sanderson Field. And just, it was kind of, as I drove out here, I thought, it's a kind of great location as you see Lynch Creek Farm is just hopping, and they just recently moved into the north buildings that were occupied by Belco for a while. They expanded into that footprint. So they've got, hundreds of thousands of square feet of property, and they are just hopping, and this is the time of year. So it's really exciting. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Wonderful. As we are nearing the end of today's program time, I do want to give each of our speakers a chance to share anything that we may not have gotten to, anything that's innovative, anything that you want to share that we didn't have a topic assigned to that you might want to touch on. So I'll give a last word to Randy, and we'll just follow down this way.
Okay, for the last word, I'm going to throw in some of the benefits, because that was the question, was just have, and it's good to know some of the good things that are coming. Not all of them are county, but remember, the county's the arm of the state, so we have to move and adjust with everything that happens. We were talking a minute ago about some of the bad things that are on top of us that may come about to us. One of the good things is, no matter what, I've been around for, 12 years in this seat, 6 years in the Port Commission. If there's one rule I know, this too shall pass. Whatever it is that we're facing that was the negative, eventually we're gonna get past that, and usually the one that wins is the last one to give up. So we're gonna be just fine. We always have been, and we always will be. With that though, we have some great things that are happening in the community, such as the bypass or freight corridor. Just so you know where we're at in that position right now. They are at the point now where they are purchasing right-of-way up on the north end of it. The environmental is done, the design is done, and so as they're purchasing right-of-way, they're starting to purchase more. They're going into the courts in 2025 because they have to limit access on the properties, and they hope to go to construction now in 2026. So it's funded, it's there. Could something happen? Always. But once we get that right-of-way purchased, they don't usually ever run away. Never. So we got to get that finished. We're doing other things in the county these days that we hadn't done since the 50s, and that's road improvement districts. We have one down in a local area. It's our first one we've done that allows the community to come together and decide they want to have their roads and stuff paved. We come together, we put it as a package so they can go onto their taxes and it gets paid. Then it comes into the county banks and we take care of it, maintain it from that point on. But that increases the quality of the communities we're doing it. We just had a meeting last night for a very large one, Razor Road area, which is out in Belfair. If that happens, eventually one of the urban growth areas will probably grow into that, and that'd be a big benefit financially for the community. Also meeting with a group, because workforce housing is very important. There's a group that I'm working with right now, and I think eventually it's to look at both areas, but they're looking at 280 square foot apartments. For years we've always do grandiose and stuff, but workforce development or even low income, either one of them, 280 square foot apartment is very livable. If you go into New York, you'll find they have them 150 square feet and stuff. It's very livable and it's very, very inexpensive, and it can actually have a huge impact. So I don't have to lose my neighbors because I can't afford to live there anymore. But also, if we can create an area where people can live so they can work there, we can bring in more industry. But Mason County, I'm telling you, they are in a great position. It sounds a little rough for the moment, but we have enough money in the bank we can weather whatever it is. But as we're starting to move forward in our partnerships that we have, you're in a great time in Mason County. Every other county is collapsing a little bit right now. Grace Harbor is looking at huge across the board cuts, and like I said, I hope that we capitalize on it. I hope we go and get some of those employees and bring them here. The state is looking at it. Mason County is not. As a matter of fact, the commission had already said, for this year too, we've agreed we're not going to raise taxes this year either. With that, just know, now's the time to reinvest into your community. Because it's the Chamber of Commerce, don't miss that opportunity. Reinvest in the community. We are in a strong position to help take care of you and help be there. Just like we were in COVID. If you notice, we didn't lose the businesses every other county did because we reinvested back in because we didn't keep the money for ourselves. We're in that position now. Go back out. Reinvest in this community that you love. And we'll stand behind you and we'll help you to be successful.
Thank you, Commissioner Neatherlin. Mark, any final thoughts from the city?
Yeah, a few things. I don't know if everybody's aware, but we're working on our comprehensive plan right now in partnership with the county, and that's our roadmap. That's what sets us up for our future. It determines how development's going to occur in our community. Transportation elements, housing elements, climate elements. With that plan, we're addressing regional commercial zoning. Where is the best location for regional commercial? Not the mom and pops, not the small business development, but where would regional commercial develop, and how would that not impact some of the development that we want in our downtown core? Multifamily zones. We don't allow multifamily outright in any of our zones in the community in the city of Shelton without going through another development review process or land use process. We'd eliminate that and allow multifamily housing where it best belongs. So we would have mapping that would include that, and have land use processes that would simplify the investment for multifamily housing. Like I said, we're coordinating with the county. This is much more comprehensive coordination for development of our comprehensive plans, particularly the UGA, the Shelton UGA, which I can speak specific to, and coordinating how development occurs within that UGA. So we're not coming up against some difficulties in the future through annexation or extension of utilities or anything like that. We're investing in our utilities. I mentioned the Ingleside pressure zone, the Mountain View pressure zone. We've got a reservoir study going now. The Olympic Heights development is running another pressure line. We've made upgrades to our main treatment plant and our satellite reclamation plant out near Sanderson Field. We're continuing to make those investments, so we've got the basics, we've got the ground floor, we've got the foundation built so people can invest in our community, and that's our focus moving forward.
Fantastic, thank you. And Wendy, anything you'd like to share from the report as we wrap up?
Yeah, I think just to kind of go where I started, and that was partnerships, and I think we are equipped really well. Randy said we're in a good position. We are. I mean, we have a lot of people, a lot of electeds, a lot of people that are sitting here at this table that work really well together, and we're creating these partnerships as we go along, and we're inviting business to come and make their homes here.
Thank you so much. And Sheila, anything else from the PUD?
We've been 85 years serving electricity. Next year marks 25 years, putting broadband up on our poles as well, fiber. And so we're continuing to expand that. It's actually been, next year will be 95 years since the voters of the state of Washington approved PUDs to ever be formed. That's awesome. It's a cool legacy to be a part of. And then you ask the question, what have you done for me lately, right? So what we're always trying to do for you lately is remove those roadblocks to progress, to make the programs available that people need to best serve you. Our mission is to connect people with safe, reliable, economical, and sustainable services 24/7. If you know anything, you know that if there's an outage, we seriously do the 24/7 thing. And we have a crew actually up at Snowpud right now helping them to do the 24/7 thing. Supporting our community is a huge part. We live here, we work here, we play here, we love it here. And any way we can keep doing that, we're going to keep doing that. And so thankful for the great partnerships we do have with the other agencies and organizations in our community, because that's what makes all the difference.
Thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't also take this opportunity to give a thank you to the Economic Development Council.
Yeah.
They actually convene all of us, the chamber, the port, the city, the county, the PUD, all of the public agencies and private partners that are working towards economic development on a monthly basis. We all get in a room and talk about how can we work together to make things happen. So huge shout out to Kevin Judy and the Economic Development Council for keeping that moving forward. Katie, if you'll pop down to the end slides here, we've just got a couple of announcements before we end today. Upcoming chamber events, trying to make this easy on you. So, legislative send-off, speaking of the EDC, we are partnering with the EDC and our friends at the North Mason Chamber for a joint event which will be held in Union at the Aldrich Golf Clubhouse on Wednesday, December 4th. All three of our legislators for the 35th District will be at that event. We're going to be talking through with them what we're going to see policy-wise coming out next year. It's also a budget year at the session. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, I'm sure. If you'd like to RSVP, you can just scan that cute little QR code there, or let Katie or I know on the way out. We also are going to have a holiday open house at our office this year, the night of the tree lighting downtown. So by all means, pop in and see us. Aligning with Shelton Downtown Merchants, we're kind of doing that 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, all things downtown, shiny and new. Business after hours at Zeppelin Shipping for December is our last business after hours of the year. That is complimentary to our chamber members and great opportunities to get to know new faces and make some incredible connections. And just save the date for our annual awards gala, which is January 17th. That is the third Friday in January. We do have information coming out soon about our award finalists, so you all will be voting on that, and those folks are going to be announced at the gala in January. And then Katie, if you can pop to the next slide. I want to put in a plug for Small Business Saturday and Small Business Season. We tout shop local all year long, but especially during the holidays, it's so important that we support our friends and neighbors. So think about those gifts that you can give, not just, of course, retail items from the fabulous shops, Cameo Boutique out in Union, or stopping in at one of the local spots downtown, but also think about services that you can buy. Can you buy an art class for a kid on your Christmas list? or maybe get a photo restored for your grandparents. There's just some really wonderful things you can do that support your friends and neighbors this holiday season. We do have Shop Small swag on the back counter on your way out, signage and posters and stickers and all sorts of things. If you want to take some back to your business, feel free to grab those. I also have the Shelton Downtown Merchants Winter Edition map, so take a look for that. And we've been a champion of the Small Business Coalition since it began 15 years ago, and that kicks off the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and that's their official kickoff for the holiday season, but we all know holidays are here, so thank you for that. And if we'll go to the next slide, speaking of our holidays, Festival of the Furs is underway. That is something that really takes everyone pitching in, so I'm so thankful for the people in this room that sponsor, that volunteer, that show up. I know we have a lot of people that have participated. We have the gingerbread competition that happens in our office. They're on display, so it's a really fun piece. We've partnered with our neighbors at Graffiti Creative Arts Center, so hopefully we have so many gingerbread that we need to expand the window display. We're ready for that. You can get more information with that top QR code there. We will be doing the Keeping Spirits Bright map again this year. So what's really fun about that is I have really fun memories as a child going out with my parents and getting in the Volkswagen with a wool blanket and cocoa and the top down and going around and looking at Christmas lights. And so it's an effort to kind of focus on the joy in our community during the holiday season. There are prizes for like those big crazy commercial ones or the over-the-top residential displays. But really, there's no cost to just get on the map. And so it's really fun to see all the places that people are spreading that holiday cheer. You can scan that QR code or go to the Chamber website to get more information. And then lastly, just a plug for the Chamber's Foundation. I want to thank the PUD, Hood Canal Communications, City of Shelton, Skookum Rotary. They've really been our stalwart supporters of that program for years. We could not put up the flower baskets. We could not put up the Christmas lights without the help of those folks. And even above and beyond the contributions they make, it takes nearly $20,000 each year to run that program. So if you're in a position that you can help to support that with as big or small of a gift as you can, we hope you consider that this holiday season. And I think that is all we have for you today, Katie. Fantastic. So big round of applause. Community. We really appreciate you sharing more about that here. For all of you who joined us today, thank you. Carry the water, share the news with your friends, with your business associates, and look forward to seeing you all throughout this holiday season. Enjoy the rest of your day.